Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you, depending where you are in the world. It's a nighttime devotion. We're reading from the devotional Lift Him Up. The title is The Present Mediatorial Work of Christ. The scripture reading comes from Matthew 28:18. And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and earth. At the meeting on a mountain in Galilee, all the believers who could be called together were assembled. Of this meeting, Christ himself, before his death, had designed the time and place. At the time appointed, about 500 believers were collected in little knots on the mountainside, eager to learn all that could be learned from those who had seen Christ since his resurrection. From group to group, the disciples passed, telling all they had seen and heard of Jesus, and reasoning from the scriptures as he had done with them. Thomas recounted the story of his unbelief and told how his doubts had been swept away. Suddenly, Jesus stood among them. No one could tell whence or how he came. Many who were present had never before seen him, but in his hands and feet they beheld the marks of the crucifixion. His countenance was as the face of God, and when they saw him, they worshipped him. But some doubted. So it will always be. There are those who find it hard to exercise faith, and they place themselves on the doubting side. These lose much because of their unbelief. This was the only interview that Jesus had with many of the believers after his resurrection. He came and spoke to them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. The disciples had worshipped him before he spoke, but his words, falling from lips that had been closed in death, thrilled them with peculiar power. He was now the risen Saviour. Many of them had seen him exercise his power in healing the sick and controlling satanic agencies. They believed that he possessed power to set up his kingdom at Jerusalem, power to quell all opposition, power over the elements of nature. He had stilled the angry waves. He had walked upon white-crested billows. He had raised the dead to life. Now he declared that all power was given to him. His words carried the minds of his hearers above earthly and temporal things to the heavenly eternal. They were lifted to the highest conception of his dignity and glory. Christ's words on the mountainside were the announcement that his sacrifice in behalf of man was full and complete. The conditions of the atonement had been fulfilled. The work for which he came to this world had been accomplished. He was on his way to the throne of God, to be honored by angels, principalities, and powers. He had entered upon his mediatorial work, clothed with boundless authority. He gave his commission to the disciples. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. We, most of us, or some of us, if not all of us, are his disciples. Or we would want to be his disciples. But do we? The disciples walked away from everything and followed him, bar nothing. Do you want to be a disciple? Do I? Would we walk away from everything, bar nothing, to follow him? Clothed with boundless authority, he gave his commission to us. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. We need to go.